Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, the editor-in-chief of Total Retail. I am pleased to be joined on this episode by Christy Westrup, who is the Chief Merchandising Officer of IPSY. Christy and I are going to be talking about that brand and how it is differentiating itself in a very crowded beauty market with innovative and unique product, as well as some of the other exciting things they have planned at IPSY. So, Christy, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let's jump right into it. And I think the best place to start would be to have you tell us a little bit about IPSY for those that aren't yet familiar with the brand. I think a lot are, but just in case some of our audience is not, give us a quick overview.
Oh, great. I love this question. I think what most people don't know about IPSY is that we're both a B2B and a B2C. So for the brands, we are the beauty industry's most powerful marketing platform. What does that mean? We unite brands, creators, and hyper-engaged consumers with what we call unprecedented access to each other through our beauty membership. But to our consumers who know us through our principal subscription offerings, which most people know about, which is the Glam Bag, which is the largest deluxe sample beauty subscription, BoxyCharm. BoxyCharm is now part of IPSY, and it's the world's largest full-size beauty subscription, and Icon Box, which is an exclusive celebrity-curated quarterly luxury beauty collection, which, by the way, we just had Gwen Stefani, and as most of you should already know, we have Patrick Starr as our curator this month. So it's super exciting.
So I'd also like to learn a little bit about your professional background. I know you've been with IPSY for close to 5 years now. Tell us a little bit about your role and what really excites you about being the chief merchant at IPSY.
Sure. It's crazy. I can't believe 5 years have almost come
It
up.
goes quick, right?
Like, I don't know where time has gone, but when I think about my career, I think about it in 3 phases. So I had this like foundational retail background. I had global travel, and now I'm in this digital space. I started my career with Federated Department Stores, which is now Macy's. I go way back to the days of the traditional brick and mortar stores, and I learned the basics of retail. So it was retail, forecasting, negotiations, brand building, and truly like people development and management. But then I shifted gears into global travel retail, which is probably the most exciting part of my career. My team and I manage the merchandising from almost all the cruise lines. So from Carnival to Silver Seas, whether they were in Asia with Chinese consumers or in the Bahamas with Americans. Starboard, which is the name of the company, was one of the first companies to launch retailing to demographics, which was that understanding who was on board and what they preferred. It was quite a unique challenge when it was such a broad of a market and the cruise ship moved from one itinerary to another in a matter of weeks. What was really fun is I was traveling to Shanghai, Scotland, Cannes, to Milan. It was really an incredible 8 years. And what was really fun is that we were a part of the LVMH Maisons as well, which came with all the amazing career opportunities and individual development that came along with it. But around 2019, I had this desire to pivot my career to focus more on this digital experience with a much younger consumer. And that's when BoxyCharm came into play. I interviewed with the founder of BoxyCharm. His name's Joe Martin. And at that time, I realized, wow, I would be super challenged and stretched with this like new set of opportunities. And what is really wild is I took on this new role during COVID. And we were what I would call a 10-year-old startup, super agile, super creative. But after 6 months, IPSY, our biggest competitor, purchased us. This is all Joe during COVID.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And that's when my true ride began. It has been an incredible ride. I've held a few different positions here. And I've recently taken on this chief merchandising role, which spans, for some people who don't know, across brand partnerships, across merchandising, across planning and personalization. And what excites me right now most at this point at IPSY is truly the impact that we're making on our members. So many companies talk about how they put the consumer at the forefront, but I can tell you from experience that there are not a lot of companies that have this incredible access to consumer data. I'm talking millions upon millions of data points on demographics, what they prefer, how they want to shop, how they're shopping, how they rate their products, what they want to purchase in the future. And it's our job in merch is to bring all these members exactly what they want, where they are in their beauty journey. And it's exciting, but I think we've only scratched the surface.
So you've got quite a varied background and experiences, so really can help give a sense of the conversation and that we're going to have today. I want to, before digging a little further into IPSY particularly, let's talk a little bit about the beauty market first. It's obviously a super competitive, crowded space, and with that in mind, how do you at IPSY think about trying to differentiate the brand so that you can gain that market share and market awareness? And you're doing that through kind of the unique and innovative product that you're introducing. So tell us a little bit about differentiation and how you think about that as it relates to product at IPSY.
It's interesting because in our corner, in IPSY's corner of the beauty market, which is subscription and product trial, we have very little competition. Each of our offerings, the deluxe, sample, full size, and quarterly luxe, really are the industry leaders. But since beauty industry overall is such a crowded market and that's where we play, that's actually our best argument for why IPSY exists. Because between the D2C revolution and the massive shifts brought on by this proliferation of social media, the cycle of newness in beauty, as all of you are well aware, is like faster than ever. Brands need us to scale their products out there in the marketplace. Our massive content operation to tell the story and educate. And on the flip side, consumers need IPSY's curation and targeting to get them the right products and the right information, because there's so much information out there, whether you're on TikTok or you're on Instagram or you're talking to your friends. It's very confusing. And what we bring to the table at IPSY is the ability to educate our consumers where they are in their beauty journey. It's actually a huge differentiator for us versus the rest of, like, let's say a brand or a retailer. So I would say that would be our biggest kind of like secret sauce.
So, kind of following up on that, Christy, in terms of and I think you mentioned the term cycle of newness, which I think is really interesting. How does that then play out in the customer journey? Because you think about your traditional IPSY customer, subscription member, they're receiving a lot of product already. So how do you get them to kind of extend that reach in terms of other products and testing out new things and get them to continue buying more additional product than what they're receiving in their subscriptions?
Well, first I would say, I said it before in my beginning, I've gone across a ton, I've worked in tons of different areas of the business. I've worked in watches and accessories and handbags and fashion apparel and of course beauty. And these are the most passionate consumers that I've ever worked with. So, like, believe it or not, on average, our members are spending $80 to $125 per month on beauty products. By the way, that's not including their subscription. This is why trial is so important to the consumer journey. Like 85% of our members say they rely on sampling to learn if a product is a good fit for them or not. Only that they're learning about these new brands from us, but physically trying products that were specifically selected for them. We're opening that door to these new categories for members and new price points. A quarter of our members, they do say that after trying, they do go back and purchase. And I think what we do that is so differentiated and also enables them to continue to purchase more is just give them differentiated products that they're continuing to ask for. And we try to stay as close to market and quick to market as we can. Like, for example, the Met Gala was a couple of weeks ago. And immediately we saw this trend towards like hyperpigmented cheeks, blushes, bronzers. And we were able to pivot quickly and introduce that to our consumers and start talking about it on social. So the ability for us to react and just get them engaged about something new is, I would say, part of our, part of what we, our value prop for our consumers. And by the way, for our brand community.
Yeah, that's actually that is a great example. The Met Gala example that you shared in terms of being flexible and adaptable to what's happening in the market, what are consumers, the information they're collecting, they're getting so many different sources of information, leads to my question in terms of at what stage in the brand or product life cycle is the typical consumer coming to IPSY? Is it really that discovery phase, or is it something that further down in the purchase journey? Tell us a little bit about where you're typically engaging with the consumer in that product life cycle, I should say.
It's interesting. Where I would say we're somewhere in all of the life cycle for our brands or for any product. Like what we do is obviously if you're launching a new product, this a brand will come to us with a new product, and what better way than getting that product in the hands of thousands of people to a targeted members. They're quickly getting reviews. We're sending these brands and these products to them virtually overnight. And then what I would say is when you think about a brand's life cycle, we have a lot of mature brands that we're working with. And so a lot of brands work with us in order for them to kind of reignite or reinvigorate a brand launch, an overall brand, or potentially an overall product. And then there are brands that are just like absolutely new to launch or new discovery brands. They're small, they don't have a lot of resources. And they come to us because they know that our community is hyper engaged and super interested in what IPSY is bringing to the table. And so we do work with some of these brands that are, haven't even gone into retail, haven't even barely started launching their own D2C. So I would say for us, and I think that's what's interesting about our business model, we are able to deliver products and brands that are in all the different life cycles pretty seamless and with little risk from a financial perspective. Remember, we're giving them 5 brands or 5 products on a monthly basis for a fraction of the cost that they would be getting at retail, which allows our consumers to really test and try different things without feeling that financial burden.
So, can you talk a little about the internal processes? You've talked about kind of the curation that goes into your members' experience. You're finding these unique and innovative products and brands, all the way from like well-established brands up to these brands that aren't even selling D2C yet, that are really kind of, I'll say, under the radar a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what the process is like for discovering and then adding those unique brands and products to your members' boxes.
Yeah, for sure. So we start this curation, I would say, more than a year out. So it's more than a year out being very strategic in what we're going after, but also in the day-to-day. So if I talk about the year out, our merge team works with, your analytics team and your planning team and consumer insights teams to really evaluate what's going on in the industry. What are the forecasts, past product, how did past product and categories perform, and overall, what is the consumer preference? But our teams are also in the market daily. They're talking to new and existing brands. They're on social channels. I mean, my team, they teach me something new every day, which is like they're just so connected and in tune to what's going on in social and out in culture. And we're not even just looking, quite frankly, I mean, I referenced the Met Gala. Like, we're not just looking at beauty events and beauty culture. We're looking at culture across the board and just really making sure we're at the forefront of what trends are coming and going. It is quite a robust process and it changes quickly. What I find really fun about our team, at least in our brand partnership team, I mean, they're on the phone with, they have the cell phone numbers of CEOs of massive organizations and new and up and comers. They attend all the trade industries, different events. Like, I would say that it's a balance of just being in the know and listening. We have I think we have over 20 million followers across all of our social platforms, and we're listening. We're on, even my merchant and my brand partners and myself as well. Like, every single post that's out there, we're reading the comments and attempting to react as quickly as possible to the comments.
So part of the curation of product is learning about your members' experiences and then personalizing future experiences with IPSY to improve that overall experience, and then hopefully that makes them more loyal to the business. Tell us a little bit, and you mentioned this at the outset, Christy, in terms of you're just collecting thousands upon thousands of data points. Tell us a little bit about some of the data that you're collecting and then how you're using that information, specifically you and your merchandising team, as you think about the product you're offering.
Yeah, sure. So what I just talked about is a little bit of what we call the art, right? So this is the getting out there in the community and understanding what's happening, what's hot, what's trending, what's in culture. And now here's the science. So to really start building that ideal assortment, members' product preferences and specific needs are fed into what we have is our IPSY proprietary AI platform. It's called IPSY Match. IPSY Match synthesizes millions of data points to really determine that optimal assortment and then ensure that the products that our members receive are tailored to their routines and their concerns. And all of that, so you're wondering, like, how did you get all that? So all of that starts with the beauty quiz. So when a member first joins IPSY, they take a quiz, and it's a series of questions that help us get all that information so that we can build the perfect box. And then IPSY's brand partnership team sources all of these hottest products in the market. We're working with over 500 active brand partners. Our merchants, I love this statistic. Our merchants are evaluating over 8,000 of these sourced products per year against dozens of criteria. It includes the packaging, the performance, the efficacy, the ingredients. That kind of volume obviously cultivates unquestionable expertise, but the process doesn't stop there. At IPSY, we do have it's a really, and I'm reticent to share, but it's our special process. Every single product that we showcase undergoes a pre-vetting by our member community, as we send hundreds of members of surveys a month to ensure the products that we're featuring align with their preferences. Well, what does this mean? So if my team comes to me or comes to the merchandising team and they say, okay, we're going to pitch this specific product, that product has already been scored by our members. It's a little bit of a gamification and crowdsourcing for our members. And they tell us from 1 to 5, I want it or I don't want it. I'm making it very simplified, but basically I don't want it or I do want it. And our team doesn't even think about putting an item or a brand or a product in our bags or our boxes unless it got a good score. Now, I will asterisk that by saying that if something scores low, we have to go with our instinct, because our entire business model is delivering discovery to our members. So there are times where we'll have a brand or a product or a new trend that's super hot that maybe our members are not aware of. So we will still make those exceptions, but it's been part of, for what I think has helped us really drive member engagement and retention, because they feel like they're part of the process.
Yeah, my next question kind of builds upon your last answer, Christy, in terms of, your members' beauty needs, they're probably constantly evolving, right? They might want something in one box, next month they might want something different. Thinking about, the product that's included. So tell us a little bit about how the role of industry trends, the customer feedback that you're collecting, how is that influencing your merchandising decisions, and how quickly and how often are you evaluating those merchandising decisions?
It's constant. So it's kind of like what I said about like the art and science, to really make that like love connection for both our brands and our members. I talked about it before, like the synthesizing of this data and this insights, like we're constantly reevaluating. We have a robust consumer insights team at IPSY. And after every bag and after every box goes out, we are evaluating, we're sending surveys. We also have our NPS results. We also have, we have millions and millions of ratings a month. Our members rate the products. So we're constantly getting that like in the moment feedback on what they like, what they don't like. And we try to pivot, like I'll give you an example. We're finding out that matte lipsticks are not performing right now. Every time we put a matte lip into our bag or our box, we're getting less, like the ratings are very low and we're getting negative feedback. So the teams are right now attempting to move those products out as best as possible. And it is a challenge because we are working so far out. But there's also what we learn is there's education around matte lip. So maybe what they don't understand is, with a matte lip, you can also layer on a wonderful gloss over the top of it and change the color of it or give it more of a high gloss shine. So it's not just about like moving and shaking. It's about educating the consumer on the why of we're putting these different things in our bags or our boxes.
So for my final question, we've talked a lot about what you've done at IPSY and what you continue to do on a daily basis, I want to kind of flip the script a little bit and take a little bit of a look ahead. Is there a particular opportunity, trend, something that you're most excited about for IPSY to capitalize on as we look at, the second half of the year? As crazy as it sounds, we're moving in the second half of 2024. I'd love to get your thoughts on where you see the business heading as we again move in the second half.
Yeah, it's so funny. I say this every year. I don't know how the year flies by so quickly, but we're going into summer, which is
Yeah.
mind-blowing. But yeah, how I would answer that is, from an internal perspective, we've always been focused on our members, but we have a laser focus on the value of our members and of our value to our members. So we're spending a ton of time, like we have to keep talking internally about total brand management and making sure that our expert merchant point of view is coming through to delight our members across all of our touch points, wherever they are in their journey, from where they hear us, to the site experience, all the way through to their unboxing. We really want our members to be excited about what they're getting from us, understand its value, be educated and empowered to use it, and then eventually repurchase with either at a D2C or at a retailer. And that unboxing is very, very, very top of mind for us. And really just ensuring that, I always say this, like beauty is such an emotional category, and ensuring that all the emotion that went into the reason why we curated and built these beautiful boxes and bags, really when they open that bag or box up, they feel the same way. And that's internally. But I would say externally, we're looking at how IPSY can be an even better partner to our beauty industry. I talked about how we're a B2B and a B2C. So on the B2B front, sampling and content really for IPSY is just the beginning. We're building out offerings to support brands at an all-important retail partnerships by generating reviews. We're going into media. We actually are launching a podcast, and we're working on sponsored collateral, and then of course data. We have millions of members and thousands of data points on their preferences and ratings. So as I don't know if many of your followers know, but as cookies get depreciated, we're looking at how we can, in a privacy compliant way, of course, let brand partnerships tap into this for their own digital efforts. So really, like when I wrap this up, I think about what's really exciting for IPSY is just continuing to be this uber powerful marketing platform for brands, and also continuing to delight our members and bring them this discovery and really amazing experience to their doorstep on a monthly basis, because life's pretty rough out there. It's challenging, and opening up that bag or that box from IPSY should be a true delight and exciting for them on a consistent basis. So that's how I would answer that last question.
Yeah, and you think about it, if you create those delightful experiences for your members, ultimately your brands win out as well, right? Your brand partners win out, and then in the end, IPSY is the ultimate beneficiary. So that kind of equation, and you've kind of talked a little bit about some of the exciting ways that you're trying to make that happen at IPSY in terms of the delightful experiences that you're creating for your members.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is key, is ensuring that our members feel the same excitement we feel when we're either speaking to a brand or looking at their products. And yeah, I mean, that is the ultimate goal.
Great. Well, I want to take the opportunity to thank Christy Westrup, who again is the Chief Merchandising Officer at IPSY, for joining us on this episode of Total Retail Talks. Thank you, Christy. I've really enjoyed the conversation today.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.